We are live with Brother Neil Frazier, aka Metamorphosis. And we're here this week again. The weeks are flying by quick, and I'm glad when Monday comes. America has a serious mental health problem while the media is silent. Media blackout. Brother, it's good to be back with you again today. And I look forward to our discussion and the facts that you bring. And mental health, man. I mean, for those of us who have it, mental health, good mental health, we're blessed.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out here who don't really have their mind right. And there are a lot of reasons for that. How are you, brother? Talk to me.
I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm good. Always good to get with you on Mondays and with the family. Greetings to everyone. And yeah, man, America has a serious mental health issue. A couple of days ago, maybe 3 days ago, I went downtown and I saw this sister. You could tell she was completely out of her mind. So I ended up giving her some money, get something to eat or whatever. But she just had a wild, crazed look in her eyes. And then later on that day, I saw a brother. Man, he was wrapped up in a blanket. He was naked from the top. And he had that wild look. And I'm saying to myself, I've seen this before, but I've seen it in institutions. So somebody is deliberately putting people on the street with the most severe form of mental health. And we won't talk about that today. I just wanted to draw a contrast of what's really going on today, because as we know—
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. There's a media blackout for a reason. And I immediately thought in my mind, and like you were saying earlier when we were talking off camera about the cameras being everywhere, it's not like they don't know these people are there. But then when you look at the fact that they've cut funding to all of the major health-related institutions, then now we see the result of having people on these powerful meds, big pharma, for, God knows how long. And then all of a sudden cutting them off, because the way this guy was like grabbing his head, like something was, you know how you hear a loud sound?
Right.
And I was like, man, this guy looked like he is really in anguish. And I said, should I buy him some food? Because if I give him the money, I don't know what he might do with it. Might buy fentanyl. Right. So I might bet. And I struggle with that. So I ended up just giving him the money. Because at the end of the day, a person is going to do what they're going to do, an adult, regardless to how, unless you're with them every step of the way. That's just the way life is. But I said that, brother, if you want to put your banner up there, the reason why I brought that up is because when people talk about mental health, the first thing you want to point to is drugs on the street. Mm-hmm. Now, that is a major factor in the problem. But then I begin to notice something, because my mind thinks this way when I look at how these deceivers always keep us in this condition. Everything that they're uploading now in regards to homelessness, they're focusing on the drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not talking about the fact that these people, because if you're out in the street for 1 week, brother, you're going to have some kind of issue. Okay. You're going to have some kind of mental issue that is going to have to, you're going to have to change that environment in order for it to get better. So one of the other reasons too why I wanted to bring up this topic is because anybody with eyes that can see can clearly see that we have a total mental breakdown in our society. This is something that cannot be ignored. The major media, we know why they're ignoring it, because this has always been a part of their plan to, it's almost like, okay, I'll cut you off and forget about you. But that's not possible. See, that it's not possible for them to forget about the consequences of their actions. This is one of the major reasons why, and I heard this white supremacist say this. He was being interviewed, and so the guy said, well, what sense does that make to have black people, brown people, Asian, or whatever kind of people, all of them out of the country, and only white people here? He said, well, to be really honest with you, in terms of the blacks, you know, they always use their terminology. In terms of the blacks, and he was very honest about this. I was shocked, but he said, because we are tired of looking at the failed past, not failed, that's not the word he said. We're tired of looking at the past of America. He said, we've come out of that and we've gotten to a better place. But imagine seeing an ex-wife every day. That's how, and it kind of made sense, because this is the way they look at it. Seriously, bro, this is the way they look at it. They look at it like, okay, every time they see black folks, it reminds them not only of what they have done, but our resilience. And so now they're realizing that the God that we serve is a different, and when I say serve, I'm talking about real spirituality. I'm not talking about religion. It's
Right.
totally different from the one that they serve. And even though they have always made this clear to our people through their actions and their rhetoric, our people refuse to accept this. Okay, so I decided, you know, after going through all the clinical BS, that it's now the DSM-5. When I was in the mental health industry decades ago, it was the DSM-3. So the DSM is basically, it's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health. But once you now, and these diagnostics tools or diagnoses are based on white people's trauma. They're not based on our trauma.
Right.
So we have an issue, you know, starting out right from the beginning, that when, just like when you go to the hospital, they're not treating you based on what is in your biochemical makeup. Unless there are specific drugs, which they have, that's targeted towards melanated people. That's a subject for another day. But there are 4 types of mental health. Okay, brother, thank you. I just wanted the people to get to see the banner. There are 4 types of mental health, and we're going to break them down. And I decided to do it this way because, as I was saying, every diagnostic tool that they use, and that's why I'm against black people going to white people for therapy. That makes no sense. That's like a cat going to a dog for therapy. That makes no sense. Because, first of all, one of the real issues is we have always had to live with the diagnoses that they make on us and accept that. Okay, and I'll give 2 examples. One is, and I talked about this before, when the black psychologists, school psychologists, put a moratorium on standardized testing for good reason, because the testing items are germane to the culture of the people that's constructing the tests. And 98% of them are white, or were white. And so when you look at people like Asians who, well, now they don't, a lot of them are forced to live in areas we live in. But when they were living primarily in white areas, the Asians did well on standardized tests because this was something familiar to them. It wasn't that they were smarter, although they do have cognitive skills of wit that helps them, right? But or awareness. But it was the fact that they grew up around white people. So to prove this point, when the bitch test was administered, all black kids scored in the 90% percentile. All other groups scored below 70 percentile. And one question will shed light on this. It was, what is a square? All the Asians, now they did identify some white kids who were used to being around black kids that were aware of this, the language. And that's why I always say to black people, just because you're regurgitating what they said, that doesn't mean the same thing for you. So
right.
The question was, what is a square? Well, all the kids who weren't black, and at this time, Latinos were really not a major part of the public school system like they are now, right? So they really didn't test them in large numbers. But the Americans that they tested, 90 percentile of the black children scored in the 90 percentile, and below 70% for everybody else. And so the point was obvious. If I construct the test and you take it, and this argument came up because they started putting our boys in special education, like in droves, so they can get them on Ritalin and other drugs that they were using at that time. Because when you go down the rabbit hole with this, this is all based in big pharma from the time that we're old enough to go to school. Okay, and I tracked this and looked at each elementary, middle school, and high school of students that were classified as special education, and almost like 93% of them were on medication.
Wow. So
they begin at an early age to affect you, at the brain level. They begin to do that as early as I found one as early as 4 years old. But the point is, I don't want to use any clinical diagnoses because it won't give us the big picture. That's also another way of like classifying and labeling people and saying, okay, well, they're this way because of blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't have anything to do with what we have done. Okay. So I'm not going to use any clinical studies. I used, obviously, when I looked at this, all of the data, even though white people have the most documented mental health issues, they wanted to paint Black mental health as something totally different. So again, today we're going to look at the 4 areas of mental health, which is emotional, physical, psychological, and spiritual. And I want to start out with spiritual because this is at the root of our problem. And we talk about this all the time. We know it, but still, the more we say it and examine it and break it down, the more it helps us to see what has happened to our people and what is continuing to happen. The thing now is we don't want this to be passed down to another generation. So this quote that the enemy is the deity and the subconscious of our minds says it all. Okay. Caesar Borgia is the deity in the image, subconscious image in the minds of Black people. This is a fact. So when you look at spiritual mental health, and then we can tie in, you know, things like some of the things that Maslow talked about, you know, self-actualization, self-esteem, security, belonging. Now, when you tie this into, you want to be as close as you can to what we perceive as the creator or God, right? So that means that in order to do that, you have to deny what Blackness is. That's the only way that can be done. Because you can't have oil and water in the same place. So this is why when you look at every single, over the last 550 years, when you look at every single spiritual aspect that Europeans brought to Black lands, that is at the that picture is at the foundation of our mental health. So that means every time you look in the mirror, you see yourself as being cursed, and then they give you some cockamamie story about Ham, the curse of Ham. Now let me ask you a question, because this will cut this BS right away. So you're saying that one man, and he had to be Black if he produced 3 different types, phenotypes, okay? So what are you saying? Because the pictures that you show about, you know, Moses, Abraham, all these people we know who are Black, okay, they're always white. So this is a spiritual deception that has caused a serious psychological problem for our people. It still does today. Because I know I heard a story in Akibalon, a guy from, I think the Black Hebrew Israelites went somewhere to Nigeria maybe, and was showing them a picture of a Black God, and they started stoning him. The same thing happens here. And I remember hearing this pastor say one time, because they was asking him, well, what, now that we know that so-called Jesus, because that wasn't his name, Yeshua, what, and he was, listen, I don't want to get too deep into this, but the mental health aspect of our people in terms of the fact of spirituality is rooted in this. So in order for the point I was trying to make is, if Ham is Black, Shem is so-called Akhenazi Jew or white Jew, and the other one, can't even remember the other one's name, but it was supposed to be the father of another separate nation, maybe the Arab nation. How is that possible? And I often say to myself, why is it that our people don't sit back and just think about just stuff that don't make sense before you start running with this? That's not even genetically possible, okay, to produce 3 separate phenotypes. And then on top of that, the Black one had to be the cursed one. So the spiritual mental health of our people has evolved to a point now. That's why I don't even discuss religion with our people anymore at all. If somebody brings it up, I'm like, look, I don't discuss religion. You know, I just don't discuss it. So if you want to talk about something else, that's fine. But I just don't. But yeah, the enemy of Black people is the deity in the subconscious of our minds. So just to kind of close that aspect out, again, when we're dealing with subconscious issues, when you look in the mirror, you don't like what you see. Why? Because the society says, and even in the religion you love says, that you are at the bottom of the creator's totem pole. Now, we all know that if you create something, you're not going to put, well, that's the way man thinks, because we're talking about people with a calcified pineal gland that structured all of these systems that we live by. Okay. But when you're talking about creating something, you're not going to see a mother chick have 3 chicks and then let a predator steal one of the chicks and she not go and try to defend it, right? You're not going to see that. So how is it the higher functioning intelligent being doesn't see that? Okay. So when you look at yourself, and this is something that Black people, we're going to have, because look, we got to go to another level. Okay, we see every day. That's why I don't even look at a lot of this stuff. All they focus on is the 10% of our community that still deals in ghettoism. Okay, and their behavior, criminal behavior. We're not gonna make no excuses for it anymore. Running up on people, carjacking people. Over 50% of our children are killing each other. Okay, we're not gonna hide from this anymore. Like you said, Lance, we're not gonna keep blaming the white man. That's like you being a perpetual child and blaming your parents. That's why I don't use that. I don't go back and say the problems that I'm having in my life today is because of Bishop and Mother Frazier. I don't never say that. I don't believe that. I believe that whatever problems you have today, you create through the energy you put out into the world. Okay, that's what I believe. And so finally, I see our people struggling to try to define what we're doing in religion now. But one of the major problems that we have, and look, I don't wish evil on it. Well, not evil, because the evil came from their side. But I don't wish any ill will on anyone. But this so-called prophet that had people working as slaves, a brother, and of course, he had a white woman working with him. And he's telling people he talked to Jesus. Now, that's enough for our people to give up everything. They were taking people's EBT cards, taking people's checks, Social Security checks, had them working for nothing, free labor. But yet you're talking about you're representing the creator of the universe? And see, this is where our real problem is rooted. I'm going to tell you this today. I don't care who don't like it. I know a lot of our religious people and my Christian friends, they ain't going to like it. Okay. There is no individual and never have been in the history of the world named Jesus. Okay. Never. And for you to keep regurgitating this is a major form of mental illness. Now, if you want to switch and start saying Yeshua, well, I could have a little more respect for that. Okay, but then you're going to have to tell another story than what was beaten into you on the plantation. Okay, you're going to have to come up with the real story then. So finally, what's a solution for this spiritual? I believe it's having more open talks like this without the dogmatism. Because see, one thing you learn from the colonizers is they were masters at psychology. Okay. They were masters at this. They had to be, because they could not dominate you if they did not use all forms of deception and manipulation. But I believe the answer to our spiritual dilemma, or the spiritual dilemma of some people, we're going to have to walk away from this Christian nationalism. Okay, we're going to have to walk away. I'm not saying don't go to church and, you know, you guys worship the Creator and do all, but all this stuff you regurgitating these scripts and don't even know where they come from and what they mean, okay, that's got to stop. Because we're always going to end up with people like this guy, this so-called prophet, which we know he is not, because he's following a system that they have taught our men, because preachers were the first real respectful, and this has been passed down through the generations even today, occupation for black men. So the black preachers were like a Moses to our people on the plantations. So that's the number one area that we're going to have to talk about it. I don't care what religion you are. Yes, you have a right. Like I said, I worship ants. Okay. So you can worship whatever you want. That's fine. Or whatever ghost you're talking about, that's fine. The next one, and it's only because it's tied closely to the spiritual mental health aspect, is the psychological one. Now, this is this is something that is really, really deep when you start looking at different areas. And I spent all day yesterday looking at this. It's a lot, okay? But one of the major reasons why there is a psychological and mental health problem in the Black community is because, first of all, we don't have any manufacturing sources. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you why that has a serious psychological effect. Okay. When you have to depend on another people that you know have set up a system to keep you at the bottom, you are going to have major psychological issues. Because what that means is, like Dave Chappelle always say, a Black person have to be two people. You have to be. You cannot be your real self. Okay, and I think I heard you say this one time, Lance, on a video, that you have this tall brother, he's working in a corporation, and he's got to change his voice. He might have a deep voice. You got to change his voice because you got these little effeminate white men who can't take Black virility. They're going to be, yeah, but yet they're supposed to be all these tough. And so the problem is you got to dance on eggshells everywhere you go. And any misstep can be fatal. That is a heavy psychological burden to carry. When you can't function as your true self, you have to make up someone. So, you know, the public and the private self. And I mean, everybody does this, but Black people have to do this, do a whole 360. Okay. Most people have to do a 90-degree turn in a lot of areas. You know, you have to adjust to certain things or make audibles. But with Black folks, we don't have that choice, because the minute you offend one of them, where you're depending on them for a job or source of income, then it's going to implode, and you know, you're going to have issues. So this is behind how they put, this is behind Coonism, but this is also behind why they put other cultures against black people. See, they throw everything at our people, but like I told you before, it's got to be discouraging to them. They finally got somebody who could outright just come and do what they've always wanted to do. But the results of it affects them more because, again, black folks have, as long as they have had this system in place for 465 years, we have had to live with this. Okay. So now, I guess they think about going and jump off a bridge somewhere. Okay. Where our people used to have to use the barter system. I remember my mom, they go next door, Miss Henderson, we got sugar, we need some salt. They ain't think about how much money you got in the bank. Nobody ever thought, I don't even remember anybody asking that question growing up. Okay. I don't ever remember anybody asking that question. What I remember and what I saw was that black folks function within a, segregation was the worst thing for our people. It really was. Segregation set us back probably 10 generations, maybe more than that, 20. Because again, our people were manufacturing things, their own stores, their own banks. They trusted each other. Okay. So now you flip the script. The only things that's available to black men and, black women now, but a hustler, a pimp, a preacher, a scammer, okay, a prostitute. This is what black folks had. And see, now white people, they're trying to figure out, well, how did black people survive this? I just told you. We had to have these 5 forms, okay, in order to make money. So what did the wicked ones do? We got proof from Gary Webb. They brought guns. They brought drugs. They told our black women, if the father's in the home, you ain't getting no more support from the government, even though we put you here. So I know people like to say we use the victim card, but this is history. This is one of the reasons they want to erase real history. This is real history. This has nothing to do with victimization. I mean, we are victims, okay, in that sense, but the suspects are the ones that have not paid any price for this at all. So now that they're paying the price, the other thing too is, see, this is a double-edged sword. So you get someone from the Luciferian class that has the money, the power, that don't give a damn about you, okay, even though you think you have some kind of privilege. Now you're feeling what black folks are feeling. And this is what's causing the anguish in America, okay? Thank you, Creatures. I don't want to just keep it as black, okay? Because in America now we have, although we have always known these issues and dynamics existed in dominant culture, now you have to look at situations with the mass shootings. God knows what they're going to do coming up now with the CDC and everything. So they're really eroding, okay, society's support system. And again, black people have always had to find ways using mainly the 5 personalities that I mentioned, that Black people had to find a way to survive. Now, people may not see this the way I see it, but I give our people a lot of credit for having to, when you look at the real history of our people and what has been done to our people, those of us that really look at the real history, like all of us do, then we know that it's a miracle that all of us are sane. Okay. But now we have a bigger problem in America. Okay. The psychological safety net that white people, the dominant class, had is eroded. And that was the only thing that they had over us. Well, they had several things, but the things that were really important was the wealth gap, the income gap, okay, and also the fact that they would always get these higher paying jobs wherever, they went. So now that all of this is being taken away from them now, people have to worry about white people now, because they are losing it, spitting on people, calling people names out of, how do you expect the children to act when you're acting this way? Spitting on people. And then, if someone goes to a restaurant with their family to eat, or you just go by yourself or whatever, nobody want to hear some racist psychobabble from you. We're trying to have a good time, enjoy our dinner, do whatever we're doing. So the point I'm trying to make with this is now we have to take on a new burden. That is that white people now are jumping off the bridge. So what that means is they're going to turn, and they are, turn all of their anguish towards us. So the psychological things in our society that's causing these issues, it's not just drugs, okay? When you don't know where your next meal is coming from, that causes a serious level of stress. The highest form of mental health in America is anxiety. And because of anxiety, I think 40% of Americans are on some type of anxiety pill. And then the other thing is paranoia. There are a few other things, but primarily anxiety. You have bipolarism, again, by people having to be two different people. And then you have depression. So now we see that the wintertime is coming up. All of these people are being evicted from their homes. And this is the socioeconomic aspect of the psychological problems and mental health problems that America is facing now. Okay, not just all of these tent cities popping up everywhere, but you talk about people don't have a safe place to use the bathroom. Okay, this is another form of mental health. Some of them don't shower for a week. Okay, this is another stressor or factor. Then they have to find food because they're not working, and they have cut off EBT on purpose. So now we're looking at a situation where we got all of these zombie type people, and they're still humans. Okay, I'm just using a descriptive term, not trying to degrade anybody. But you see them everywhere. They're walking around like in a daze, and it's a situation where the media is being quiet on this because they don't want to talk about anything that'll make the neo-Nazis that run our government look bad. Okay, so, and they're being paid off as well. So you have somebody sitting behind a desk every night reporting to you that's giving an edited version of what's happening in the world, what's really happening. Okay. So all of these things are caught, and so you can sweep this under the rug. But one thing about sweeping things under the rug, it's not always going to stay under that rug. Okay, it's not. So by the media having a blackout about what's going on, what's happening to people, okay, and nobody's standing up, all right, and doing anything about it. So you have all these people now, even people who are working or, you know, surviving, they have an extra level of stress because they got to worry about somebody stealing from them, breaking into their homes, trying to take what they have because, you know, again, you have this psychological blueprint that has been established for our people that if you are not what they call successful in their system, then you are nobody. See, this is another big psychological stressor. And so I started looking at our community and, you know, the different places where, you know, Black people are still living, like in situations and projects and stuff like that. And it's gotten to a point where it's a day-to-day jungle warfare to survive. Okay, and so they've built their own psychological trauma around this. So I don't know how we can look at, you know, the fact that white people now have lost everything, they're losing everything, and think that they're not going to make us pay. This is another stressor for Black people because we know, as the old saying goes, when white people get a cold, we get pneumonia. And that is because they take out their anguish on us. Okay. And not only them, other cultures do too. So, and along with the psychological aspect of America's mental health decline is you are told that your job defines who you are. So what do you do? Who are you? Oh yeah, I do this. I'm a philosopher, or I'm a electrician, or I'm a this, or I'm a that. So when you no longer have those jobs or those titles, then how do you describe yourself? So all of these things that when you look at our society, the people who have had these titles and these jobs and these advantages that made them think that they were better than you, now the Creator has leveled the playing field, okay? And now they're looking to you to do something. So a solution, I think a real solution, and this has always been the solution, is for us to embrace who we are, whether you think that's good or bad, okay? Because it's clear that you're not a white person. You can't be one, okay? And not only that, when they do little silly childish stuff like we're setting up a whites only town, that's a psychological ploy to say that we're better than you, and so we're separating from you because we don't want you to have any of the same advantages we have. But now, less than 2 months, they're begging for the government to bail them out. So the solution for our psychological issues, I think, this is just Neil Frazier talking, is that we have to have more conversations like Lance, like you have, more conversations like this in terms of looking at, looking the beast dead in the face. Because if we keep pretending, oh, thank you, Lord. The other night, I accidentally turned on a TV channel and what's so sickening is these black preachers still doing the same thing, man. Quoting these same scriptures. Our people going up there putting money in baskets. This is it's sickening now. It really is sickening now.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to a point where we have got to say, and you can't do it because I tried to do it. They put me out of a church once. The last I went. No, they asked me not to come back.
What?
Remember I told you I went with my girl, Ronnie? And I got up and the pastor was preaching from a scripture that was talking about something that I had known from the slave narratives that Fountain Hughes said that they got lashes for if they didn't quote. See, our people don't want to accept that this was beaten into our people.
That's right.
They don't want to. They think this song. Oh, you got the Holy Ghost, really? Okay, you keep thinking that. Now you see you are unholy ghost. Okay, that's the one I've always seen. So, yeah, man. So he said this scripture, and boy, and Ronnie did that to me, right? Hit like, did you hear that, Neil? I was like, yeah, I heard that. And so I kind of stood up because I don't know I haven't been to church in years. I don't know how they go their process. I stood up. I said, "Excuse me, brother pastor." I said, and he was looking at me all weird. He was like, "Yes, sir. What's your name?" And I told him my name. He said, "Well, who did you come with?" And I said, "Ronnie." And they looked over at Ronnie and was like, "Okay, like you didn't tell this ninja that he can't get up in the middle of my sermon and say something." And so he had this strange look on his face. I said, I just wanted to ask you, sir, about that particular scripture. The slaves, and I said it just like this, on the plantation that did not quote this scripture, okay, they got, I think it was like 10 lashes or something like that. And he looked like he was hit with a stun gun. He looked at me. He said, "Well, that's something that we will discuss in Bible study." And then he just ignored me. I sat back down. So,
wow.
Yeah. So after the service, like I saw these women surrounding Ronnie, right? And after we left about 10 minutes, she said, "I ain't coming back here again, Neil." And she had been going to this church for like, I guess 2 years, maybe 3 years. I don't know. I said, "Why?" She said, "They don't want you coming back here because of what you said about slavery." I was like, "What?" So see, it's our own people that's deceiving our people in the name of this religion.
That's right.
I'm sick of it, man. I am. Because my father was a man of integrity, okay? And your father. And men like that. And now you got these people sucking blood like these vampires have always done from our communities. And we're not going to sit back anymore and act like this. And I'm glad that they raided them and took. That is insane. $50 million from our people. And see, they can do this. Well, I'm sure it's some white people too. And the only reason they can do this again is because we're still pretending. So when you go in these facilities, you're still pretending that and have blinders on that the real world is not the real world. So the next, the third one is the physical aspect of it. Now, I'll save that for last. Let's talk about the emotional aspect of mental health. Now, other than spirituality, well, all of them are heavy. What they're doing now is they're appealing to the emotional instability of our people. That's
Indeed.
where that's where they're hitting us now. You're African, you're Black, you're Caribbean, you're Mexican, you're Asian, you're white, you're whatever. Okay. But then what they do is they separate the experiences in America of Black people from all other people. So everywhere you look now, it's Black people's reaction to this, Black people's reactions to that, or Black people. And it's okay to have a voice. But what they do is, it's just like when you sprinkle a little salt in the sugar, right? So you won't really notice it. So, but what they're really doing is, while they're doing that, saying, okay, we want your opinion on this now, which they've never done before. The only reason they're doing it because they realize that Black people have this intuition or this spiritual gift that they don't have. For the first time, they realize they've always known this, they just didn't want to admit it. So so what they're doing is something very, very conniving. Okay, because they're putting Black people against other Black people around the world, the diaspora. They're deliberately doing that. And a lot of our people are complicit here. People on the motherland are complicit. I don't know. I assume they're paying these people. I have no idea. I don't know any of them personally. I just look at moves, behaviors. I have no idea if they're getting paid. What I do know is there is a constant upload of this emotional garbage that goes on 24/7. And it's constant. It's a heavy steam. Our people they use the music industry to do this, the celebrities, and then they have you reacting emotionally to everything. And the problem with that is it's the wrong kind of emotional response. So whenever someone can trigger you to go outside of yourself, then you got a problem. Okay. You have a real problem. So this is something now that white people are going to have to deal with. And they've never had to deal with this before. And so we know it's going to be a ripple effect, because once it has already eroded. Once their structures and their advantages and their privileges are taken away, it's going to be a total crash. And you're going to see more incidences where they're just going out and doing crazy stuff and taking out their frustrations on Black people. But you're going to be in for a rude awakening, and you run from the wrong Black person, because at the end of the day, we're not responsible for your emotional state. You're in this state emotionally because you have lied about real history. Now your face, and I refuse to believe that all of them are this dumb. Oh, we didn't know this about Black. I mean, I know there is some of this that exists with them, particularly the uneducated ones. But even a lot of the educated ones have been bamboozled as well. And so now that they're finding this out, the other mental health crash that's going to happen with them is what our real status is as Black people, not what you have relegated us to. And so now they're recognizing who we are. And because they refuse to look at this from a genetic perspective, They refuse to accept that. And they refuse to accept it when you look in world history, when all the gods were black. And all of their knowledge came from black lands. They refused to, but now they have no choice. And so we're going to have to look out for a real total crash out with white people. I like the psychology. I'm concerned about white people, man. I'm concerned about them because now you're talking about somebody that has, and I know this is not all of them. A lot of them, there are a lot of poor white people, okay? A lot that they hide or whatever, for whatever, we know why they do that. But they're going to have an emotional crash, okay? And I can see it already. And it's almost like an 18-year-old finding out that his parents are not his real parents. You see what I'm saying? Oh, you're not my father? Oh, you're not my real mother? That is something that is the type of shock that is going to hit them, that's hitting them now, that is going to, I believe, it's going to send America back into the dark ages. I'm not going to talk about the dream I had a couple of days ago, maybe about 4 days ago. Because, see, people ignore, like I said, the media is not talking about it, but people ignore the fact that you got people walking around here that are hungry, don't have no place to live, and even the ones that have a place to live. A lot of people have lost their jobs. So you're looking at a total crash out situation. And, you know, I'm in the Bay Area, so I can only talk about what I can't imagine. I have to look, you know, on the devices to find out about, or talk to my oldest son about the East Coast. But the thing is, man, is they're crashing out. And so when that happens, they're going to start protesting. They're going to start doing things like when they attack the Capitol. And a lot of this animalistic behavior is going to start coming out. So protect yourself. That's all I can say. I always protect myself, brother, because now you're dealing with a situation where you have this animalistic behavior that's directed towards black people. And then they got the race soldiers. All right. When they come out looking. I heard they're in your home state, Lance, it was talking about these black and Latino police officers. They sued the city of New York. You may be aware of this.
Yeah, I heard.
2 years ago. Yeah. And that they would tell them that you have to have a certain amount of arrests of black men, or if not, then Latino men.
Yep.
Yeah, in order to stay in this department. And they were like, wait a minute, what are you saying? We have to have a certain amount of, we have to arrest, even if they ain't doing it. It's like, well, you find something that they're doing. And that's why it's so dangerous now with this stop and frisk situation, where we know that they have a history of planning stuff on people, okay? Or, you know, not even giving people a chance to, you know, wanting to talk to people like they boys, you know, and treating our women like they are hoes, that they don't deserve the respect. Would you do your mama that way? Would you do your sister that way, your daughter? So all of these things too, I am concerned about black people, but now we have to look at white America right now, okay, from an emotional standpoint. But again, Big Pharma is the reason for this. Any day, and I don't know what they're going to happen because all the Walgreens here are closing. That's where the majority, and the CVS's where the pharmacies were, right? So all of them are closing because people would just walk up in there in groups and just take whatever they want. And I saw like 3 of them walk into a Walgreens one day, and you could tell by the way they was walking that they was hardcore dope addicts.
Yep.
They walked straight
They're
down
amped up.
every aisle. Even the security guard was scared to say something to him. We standing there laughing like, oh boy.
Right.
Like a movie. They just raking shit down into their backpacks. And when they finish, they walk straight out. Like,
No
wow.
fear.
No fear, bro. I'm like, boy, this really is turning to the Wild Wild West.
And see, the security knows that the company doesn't have their back because they're not supposed to stop anybody or put their hand on anybody. You see what I mean?
Right.
So they know that. All they can do is document and report.
Yeah, I'm not gonna run behind nobody if I. Hey,
right.
So they and you're absolutely right. About 6 months ago, they indicted this security officer at a Walgreens downtown. He shot this sister in the face and killed her.
Oh God!
Over something she stole. So we're looking at and again, we have a duality going on here. We're looking at divine retribution and judgment, right? For the consequences, because there's a consequence for every action.
That's right.
Or equal and opposite reaction. So we have several things happening now. We have the divine judgment on America. And then we have the judgment on individual cultures in America that have been a part of this. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. And that black people, just by default, a lot of us are going to go by the wayside because we are still living, or they are still living in that world. So a lot of them are going to, a lot of the emotional issues that are surfacing with white people now are going to have a major impact on the Latino community. And one of the reasons is because many of them, we talked about this, has been socialized in colonial rhetoric, and also their lifestyle, how they were raised, okay, and Eurocentric values and anti-Blackness. So we have all of these things, Asians too, okay. So now we have all of these things. I remember seeing this movie, it was called The Perfect Storm. It was a good movie. And you had something that had never happened before, where you had 4 hurricanes, okay, coming from 4 different directions, meeting at the same place. And that's how you got to think of America.
Yep.
And man, it's going to be, I'm an optimist, brother, just like you, but I'm also a realist, okay?
That's right.
Because sometimes optimism, you have to have a balance with optimism. Now, the other thing I want to say about the mental health with America and why we have this serious mental health issue is because when you look at the top of the spectrum of hierarchy of needs of humans, it's hope. So this is where depression and despair come from. When there's no hope, there's hopelessness. This is why people commit suicide. There's no hopelessness. And Black folks, you better not kill yourself at Christmas time because you ain't got enough money, fiat, to buy that stupid stuff for our kids. They don't need it anyway. You better not suffer no anguish over that at all. The other thing too is, and these holidays are tied into the psyche of white people. So now that they can't, they don't have the fiat to do the things that they've always done, or a certain percentage of them have, but they have said to the rest of them, the hell with you. You make it like them Indians do. Okay. And I've heard some of them say now we know what black people have always been complaining about. Oh, really?
That's right.
Now you know. And so that's how the universe operates, is that it brings things to you full circle. So what they do is they get angry at us because they're woke or blah 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 blah, because we call them out. Okay, they get
Right.
angry at us, and our own people get angry at us. Because what happens is, and I look deeply into this part of this emotional mental health of America, and in white and black people, is that there are narratives that we don't even know that's in the subconscious of our minds that we automatically live by as Americans, black and white, that now is coming from our subconscious mind because Trump has brought this out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can't hide. You have to look. You have to say, okay, yeah. Or you can't sit up in your facility and do this Sunday if you lying to yourself, which they have always done, about the reality of what they have done to black folks and how this is now turning around on them. So finally, from an emotional standpoint, we have another issue too, brother. From an emotional standpoint, we have the issue of attention seeking.
Mm-hmm.
And people will do even commit murder or unalive someone on Facebook or Instagram or whatever platform just for attention. Oh, I'm the baddest, meanest SOB. So if she disrespect me, I'm going to show her.
Mm-hmm.
Or vice versa. They literally have our adult people, the ones they upload, acting like kids, beefing with each other, all this stuff, who snitched on who, all this so crazy stuff. But we have to admit that this is an element of our community that exists. And it's getting, it actually is the element of our community that they use. That's the narrative that they use to define us. So when you hear some of them in the coons regurgitating this, saying that we're tired of black, what do they call it? Black fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're tired of you uploading the 10% of our people. Why don't we do stories on like the little black kids that I showed before? Why don't we do stories on places like over here, the One Stop that's serving the community, that's making a big difference, or you'd have people starving to death?
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't want to do. They want to keep you in a state of hopelessness, because a state of hopelessness, you're going to do one or two things. You're either going to self-medicate, or you're going to go to these people and get some type of pharmaceutical drug. And so I was saying that I don't know where they're getting it now, because I remember when the Walgreens were open at 12 o'clock anytime, any day, 7 days a week, you see a long line around the corner. Okay, that's just like when you go to a bar, the thing that they have there is alcohol, so you have a lot of people there. So the same thing with pharmacy. But now I'm wondering where are all these people going to get, because I know they're still hooked on it. But then the answer came to me, brother. They're ordering it online.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when you order something online? You don't know you don't even know who packaged it. And at the level of evil that we're dealing with now, they could be putting fentanyl in the pills and you don't even know it, and people dying and thinking, oh, they had a heart attack. Yeah, really? Which is the number one cause of death amongst black men. So now with the technology we have, we know that they know that they're delivering to a black family or a black person. They know this already. So you're trusting people, okay, to fulfill these pharmaceutical needs that you have, not even seeing the face of the people that are putting the pills in the bags that they're sending to you. You see what I'm saying, brother? This is,
Yeah.
we got to a point where we are so dependent on them to the point where we don't even question. And it's clear that they're putting fentanyls on the street. It's not just no cartels just putting fentanyl on the street. Okay, that's a lie. You can get the ingredients for a large majority of these drugs out of a drugstore. You can get them online. You can get them online. So again, this savior mentality has crippled our people. Okay, and just another thing to mention in regards to why hope is at the top of the ladder is that when you have leaders of a nation, okay, that does not offer hope for the people of that nation, you're going to have complete chaos. And this is manufactured, obviously. But people put people in positions of authority mainly to help them overcome issues that they can't directly solve themselves. So all of these different, so you see a lot of emotionalism coming out of our people and white people and all other cultures of people. You see this big rage now, and it's getting worse and worse. So in that sense, I don't really have a solution for that because there really isn't a solution to this. The solution is the retribution that's coming as a result of natural events that have taken place here. Okay, that is the reality of it, and none of us can stop it. The last area we want to talk about, I'll save the best for last, is the physical aspect of mental health. Now, you got all of these women disfiguring their bodies. Why? Why in the world would you put dead flesh or whatever they're putting in their buttocks, knowing that this is going to happen, just so you can twerk and get attention? That's what they're doing. They're doing it for attention. And although a lot of men do like that aspect of the female body, you're talking about going from a organic to an inorganic or artificial type of existence. Because there's no way, and now they're finding out that there are a lot of things that come, negative things that come as a result of having one of these BBLs. But why is it necessary for a woman to do that? What does that say for the mental state of men? Okay, and I ain't gonna sit here and act like I'm no saint. I'm just like any other man. I look too. I guess I got glasses now, but at the same time, I recognize that something that don't look natural, it should be a turnoff to you. But one of the reasons too why this is increasingly happening is because we're getting numb to artificial relationships or artificial communication. We're getting numb to that. So now anything that's artificial or anything that's not natural goes. Okay. But why is it that I just want to answer this question before I move on? Why is it that, and I'm going to answer this question right after I ask this question. What is it that is driving Black women to cut their butts open and put dead flesh, whatever they're shooting in it? You don't know what the hell they shoot. I saw one documentary where they arrested this lady. She wasn't even a nurse. She was shooting semen in their butts, bro. And the girl died. I was like, what? That is insane. Who in their right mind would do that? But that shows you the level that we have gone to, okay, where you're lusting after a woman so much in the sense that she feels that in order to get your attention, she has to go through these drastic measures. And it's becoming the norm. So our little girls now, instead of them worrying about becoming Mae Jemison, they're worrying about how their butt look. So all of this mental health, because this has got, I could imagine being a woman and having this type of mental pressure on me every day just to get attention. When we need our women to be focused on learning the skills that's going to help run a nation, the Black nation. Our people can't survive with all of our young people worrying about becoming a celebrity or, you know, I ain't gonna say athlete because that was my ticket in life, even though that is a problem. Okay. It's a problem in the sense that that seems to be, not seems, it is the only avenue where Black men and Black women are acknowledged and worshiped. You know what I mean? So yeah. Of course, everybody want to have some sense of self-worth. So you want not just the money, but the fame that goes with this. So this is a serious mental health issue going forward that our people are facing as well. They're not focusing on trying to become an architect, trying to become somebody that's an engineer, a computer engineer. No. What they show you on these devices is that you're tough. You don't give a F about nobody, even your own family. You'll kill your own mama for fiat. That you're, you know, this big and bad and tough person. You know, even the women, the same thing. Not knowing that you are the rat in that box we showed before, okay, in a lab. And then when they take everything from you and put you in a cage, then you begin to see the reality of it. Mm-hmm. You know that, Lance. Now suddenly they become philosophers. And what do most of them do? They turn right back to that same religion that enslaved.
Yeah.
You know, and I get it. Everybody needs some type of lifeline. But that lifeline that we have always lived by has now become one of our biggest detractors. Okay. And so physically, you might have a young sister that's very, very intelligent, right? But nobody pays attention to her because she doesn't have a BBL.
That's something.
That's crazy, man. Or don't have, big breasts or whatever. So you're lustful alien parts. Huh?
Or women have been reduced to body parts.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
Fetishized, just body parts.
Just body parts.
And,
Nothing else.
and they've accepted this by doing all of this stuff.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah, they
accepted
have.
it. I'm not saying all of our sisters, but the ones who do this have accepted that I have no worth otherwise. I'm ready to accept a man who sees me with no other than my body parts.
Yeah.
And after I lure him in with the body parts, I believe I can keep him and he'll love me. But they'll find somebody else with those body parts. It's
Yeah,
no
they will.
different than eating a chicken or going to KFC and saying, I want breasts, I want thighs, I want that chicken that was alive, walking around has been reduced to body parts. And we don't think of it any other way. So we devour the body parts and don't think of that woman as a woman. We don't say, oh, is the BBL going to put wisdom or give wisdom to my kids, give love to my children, keep a home instead of a house? It's all transactional now. I get a BBL, my value goes up. I'll get a man who gets 6 figures or more. And the whole human experience has been stripped away. And now we're reduced. And that's why we can't have the vibration. I'm going to say one more thing. I was reading something earlier today, basically saying that the C-19 shot, on a spiritual level, it affects us, not just on a physical level. It removes our soul, not completely away from our body, but it shifts it where it's partially out of our body. So therefore, we're not connecting on a humane level. And this is why we're getting the blank stares. And this is why those who have took that thing feel a sense of disconnect, feel a sense of darkness, feel a sense of depression collectively. So we have many people out here who are not right with themselves. And this ties right on into the mental health. But we're not just mind, just spirit, mind, body, and spirit. When one gets thrown off, the rest of them get thrown off. But that's an intangible. And I believe that's true. You know, there's so much going on, seen and unseen. Even not to pick on the women, but what really in their right mind would make them want to slap a foreign substance on their ass when what they have naturally is beautiful and in proportion, a caricature of yourself. So any man that lusts after that, he has a twisted, artificial, synthetic, plastic lust where he can compartmentalize and fetishize your body in a sick way, because that's not you. You're lusting after something synthetic.
And that leads to a larger question. What have our men been reduced to? Because you see, a lot of the things that I see that's happening in terms of the negative aspect of our females come from Black men. So when you're constantly using words that degrade our women, like bitches and hoes, and you're constantly like just derating them and making them feel like if they don't present this image, like in the videos, okay, then you have no value to me. But yet, like you said, even if a brother or somebody gets a woman that don't have those body parts, you know, they have the natural proportion. Some kind of desire that they have created with American men. And again, I'm an American man. I'm not saying I don't have these desires. We're just talking truthfully about this mental health situation that we've got to deal with. But obviously, they have uploaded these desires into men. So now you have a situation where not just they're looking at women, they're looking at girls. That's why we have this. So when you don't have any boundaries, okay, when you don't have any boundaries, then now you're looking at a situation where somebody could, I saw where 11-year-old just delivered a baby by her own father, by the way.
Oh, damn.
So now we having all of these mental health type situations. These people, animals that were tying kids in basements. You heard about this? And animals. They would have animals in the basement, and it was like 13 of them. There's women, and I think it was like 4 women. I forgot how many. It was like 8 women and like 5 or 6 men. And one of the women, her own children, they abused. Let's say, but they had this secret house. I think it was maybe in Arkansas, some backwoods type situation. And they would bring the kid. I mean, and the whole neighborhood seemed to be aware of it. Now, if that's not a serious mental health issue, what is? You know that kids are chained in a basement. Animals are chained in a basement. Okay. And they're SAing the children and the animals. And that's not an issue to you. And this had been going on for a long time before they discovered. Somebody, I guess, finally said something about it. Now, there are a lot more of these situations that go on that we don't even know about, while they're trying to paint us and highlighting the negative aspects of our culture. Bruh, if you go behind some of the scenes of some of these backwoods people, or these elite people, so-called elite, we know about the celebrities because they put them on blast. We see the mental health erosion of America. We see it in real time. And it's getting worse. And we were talking about how the men are actually behind. So if you had a society of men that valued women, say, like the Muslim women, right? I'm not saying to have them all covered up like that. I'm just saying everyone knows that American women deliberately highlight certain parts of their body. Everybody knows that. So how do you look at it? Do you look at it as it's the women that are, because in one sense it is. They're the ones dressing and coming out and putting forward this image. Or is it the men that put the value on what gives them the attention? You see what I'm saying? It's probably a little, it's not probably, it's a little of both. But from a pure physical perspective, you don't see that person's soul. You don't see that person's spirit. You don't see, like, the majority of our women, if you're not at a certain social economic status, will not even have a conversation with you. They won't even have a conversation with you. And so, it's this thing that, people say, no money, no honey, which is, which is true.
Well, if they can put it out there like that, the money these days has no value.
Right.
And the orifice has no value. Like, what are you getting? Really? I'm not putting women down. But if you don't look at it on a divine level, it's an orifice, it's a hole. What are you getting? Friction. And the friction they're getting from the woman has nothing to do with the woman, because half of these men are walking around with a ready-made template that's already made of what they call a fantasy in their mind. and they're using this woman's orifice while they're thinking about what they saw in the porn movie or through somebody's window or something that happened to them as a child. There's no connection.
Right.
Yeah.
Voyeurism.
As a voyeur. Yeah.
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 That's
So
crazy, man.
It's so desensitized. This is why, to take it a step further, like you said, this is why there's no boundaries and they'll look at children. Well, this is why if you can present an image of a woman, these guys don't mind when they're driving home from work to where the women are walking around half naked selling themselves, and one of them women is a dude, and half of them know it. And they'll invite them to the car as long as you look like a woman. It's just friction. They're out of control.
Yeah.
When you look at a woman, you got to see that what she has for the future. Children and soul and love and motherhood and all of this stuff. You have to choose your woman, and she has to choose you, and you have to fit certain standards. It's not just body parts. You got guys with fetishes out here. It don't matter if it's a double D cup or an A cup or no cup at all. You see what I mean? It's the beauty of a woman, especially as she gets older and the body gives into gravity, as our bodies will fail us. We're made to expire. Nobody brought a car 50 years ago and drives it every day and still has it. It goes back to the earth.
Right.
But what is the experience of those attributes in that woman? That's what really turns you on over time. When you're young and dumb and full of protein, you're not thinking that way most of the time. And we still have our lust triggers, but we depend on those less and less as we get older. When you have a woman with you who has integrity and those attributes.
Yes.
You know, I mean, do you wife a $5 hooker who does anybody? No, she'll do anything with anybody. You don't want that to be the mother of your children.
Right.
What you do with her in the bedroom that she wants to do for you and you do for her, and whatever it is that y'all do, that's sacred.
Right. You know what's interesting about the DSM-3 and the DSM-5? The DSM-5 removed homosexuality as a mental health issue.
I know it's 73.
Yeah. And so now so when we deal with the physical aspect of mental health, we have to look at how men see themselves as well. What is your definition? And this is where we're going to deal directly with black men, because we're black men and we deal with black issues. I can't speak for black white men or any other type of men of any culture. So, but they have created a type of black man that has no connection to his brother. You know what I mean? In other words, every single black man that I see is either a threat to me or somebody that's trying to take away what I have. This is the climate that they have created for black men. You know, so what happens is you as an individual have to figure out what being a man means to you.
Right.
Because clearly the definition that we see the effeminization of our men in Hollywood, the effeminization of the celebrities that they've given all this fiat, and what happens in the end, they always end up tearing them down in some kind of way. They always end up and taking everything that the wicked one gave to them. So when you look at a black man, you have to ask the question is, are you a reflection of a white man? Do you know? Because real black men, you know, we are who we are. We're not trying to emulate white men. First of all, you can't. And if you do, then immediately people are going to know you fake. Because, but yeah, they have created this image of black men, whereas there's always a physical threat when you see other black men. And that's sad.
It is.
It's very sad because wherever you go, you gotta, it's really, I'm gonna be honest with you about something, brother. And you know, I've lived in every region of this country over my long lifespan. But it's the black men of that city that's gonna come at you. Okay?
Yeah.
They're gonna come at you. Where you from, man? You know, who you know over here or whatever. It ain't the, unless you go specifically into a white town or white area. The white man, I mean, they ain't trying to have no problem with you unless they, you know, neo-Nazis or something. But for the most part, wherever you go, it's other black men in those cities that's going to be your biggest threat. Because as soon as you mention that you're not from that particular place, the city, area, whatever, it's
Right.
going to create a problem. And this is why we can't, and so on a global scale, this is what's happening in the diaspora. So now you're pointing out all of these differences that we have as Sun people. Yes. If you grow up in a different, on a different continent, your experience in life is going to be totally different than mine. But does that mean that I have to destroy your integrity as a man just because you were
Right.
born? So what you're actually doing is you're cursing the Creator for putting them in that land, and don't even know it. And so this is the future of black men with the mental health is we've got to change the way we look at each other, first of all. And the reason why that has always been so difficult for us is because black men are taught that if they are not functioning in at a certain level in society, then they have no value. In other words, if you're not serving some institution in this system, okay, then you have no value, which is the one thing that we always have to remember. What they see as negative is a positive for us, and vice versa. Okay, it's the sun and ice mentality. That is in nature. Okay, it's just that they have learned to manipulate that better than us. And this is why we have this dynamic. Also, what I was saying in the beginning, where they have the manufacturing, the distribution routes, the import, export routes. These are the things that black men need to be discussing, but they have us worrying about what Sexy Red wore the other day, or, you know, whose song is trending more, or, you know. So the way I look at black men now and our emotional and mental health state is that more than any other demographic of people, black men have got to start redirecting their own course. And that's difficult to do under the system that we operate under and live under here in America, but it's necessary. It's not as hard as you think. Okay, like I always say, all you got to do is find one or two black people that's doing something and help them. You ain't got to be the head nigga in charge, You ain't got to be none of that. But it shows the children the most important value. And this is what I loved about sports, playing and as a coach, is that
Right.
the sports teaches you certain valuable lessons in life. Discipline.
Yes, indeed.
Accountability. I think you did a video about this, right? Discipline, accountability, vision, being able to be, being able to see things, in the future in terms of planning. Okay, planning your season, or scouting the team you're going to play against. Scouting the players that you have to play against. These are the types of things that Black men have in us naturally, that people the new plantation owners that control these teams, like they did Deion Sanders' son, Shedeur Sanders. We all know he was the best quarterback in the NFL, in the NFL draft. Mm-hmm. We all know that. Everybody knows that. But again, it comes down to these inferior men, or inferior thinking men, because I never like to call somebody inferior, but we have these people with an inferiority complex who think that they're white supremacists. And my understanding of the word supreme is that you're up here providing for, people's needs. That's my idea. But again, going back to the last thing about our mental health in Black men is, I see a lot of Black men are like clapping back against some of this stuff that's going on. But again, we are still heavily influenced by the way white males think. And see, their world is going to be like ours to a large extent. But their experience in life, the way they think, what they've been taught, and their experiences are the total opposite of Black males in this country. Okay? Mm-hmm. You have got to come to grips with that. And if the only thing they have ever given you is things to destroy your own community. Okay? Guns, drugs, and all the other things that come with it. That's all they've ever given you. They've never given our community anything to uplift us, because we know that in all areas of human existence, when the playing field is level, the cream rises to the top. And that's the Black man. All right, brother. I think I want to end it there.
Poetically done.
Yeah, man. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to do a clinical study, because a lot of times these statistics, when we look at them, that's helping to make us feel, hopeless. Because when they talk about the issues that we have, then all of a sudden they talk about it in a whole different, just like the guy that the trans individual that just shot up the Catholic school. They want to talk about the problems that he had trying to, figure out his life, that he didn't want to be trans anymore, and blah, blah, blah. Coming up with, like, what's his name? Paul Mooney said, the white man goes and shoot up the school, and they arrest him, and they said, well, what is your problem? What is your motive? Why did you? It's like, well, I got like 5 different personalities. Like, interesting. That's something we need to study to find out why this exists. The Black man, he goes and shoot up BET. They come and say, well, why did you shoot up BET, Black man? He said, because I got 5 personalities. I said, oh, really, Inja? Okay. Well, one of them 5 personalities going to jail at night. You decide which one. Okay. So it's a whole different way of looking at life when it comes to us. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to say to the brothers, man, is that stop trying to be like these evil people, man. Stop doing all this devilish stuff, because you're going to pay for that. You might not think you are, but you are. You better stop doing all this devilish stuff that these wicked people have taught you. And I'm talking to black men right now.
Yep.
Because there's a reckoning day coming for us. Because remember, we are the guardians of the planet. So if somebody have to come back and do what we were supposed to do, then so be it. Okay? And I say, come on.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, Brother Lance. Well,
thank you,
good
brother.
talking to you again on Monday, man. Always, this kicks off my week. Love
It does.
to the fam out there. And I know you're holding on to the belts. I see you doing 2 or 3 a day.
Oh, we're going to bump that up some more.
Oh, yeah. What you think, what's your call on the fight coming up with Canelo and Bud Crawford? Now, Canelo is taking steroids. At least that's
of course, but see, the thing is, that's a whole show in itself, and I'll probably do a freestyle on that. But I'll say it this way: boxing is a very dirty sport.
It is.
Canelo Alvarez has been pushed to be the cash cow. He's gotten a lot of decisions that shouldn't have gone his way, and it's all about money.
It's all about money.
Now with Bud Crawford, they try to minimize his achievements because he has not fought the boxing stars that Canelo has, but he's older, but he hasn't taken as much of any beating. So age doesn't matter. You see, it's just like when Mayweather beat Pacquiao. Mayweather was older than Pacquiao. Mayweather was older than Canelo when he beat him. Yeah. And when they say that Canelo, when he lost to Floyd Mayweather, that he was so young, he was fighting professional from 15 years old and had a record. So don't use that excuse. He was schooled. But for Bud Crawford, it's not for him to go in and try to outmuscle Canelo, because Canelo has been at that weight and used to fighting bigger guys. But the skills that Bud Crawford has, he has to go in there to prove that. But don't try to go in and prove that you can stand there and fight with this guy. Even though Bud Crawford is not afraid and he has a lot of dog in him, his thing is to stay just beyond his reach and box as he needs to, but not run. Now, when Canelo gets outboxed, they're going to say that Bud Crawford ran. Just like when, what's his name? The Indian guy, Amir Khan, fought Canelo. He was winning every round, and he came up in weight, but he got caught by Canelo, right? So there's a lot of racial tensions with this fight because Canelo is Mexican and Bud Crawford's black, and Bud Crawford is not really an establishment guy. The PBC, who had contracts with a lot of popular fighters in his weight division, they kind of ignored him for a very long time. And you saw it happen when he fought Errol Spence. So now the world is clamoring for him. And to call the fight, he can win this fight. He jumped up a lot as far as fighting a guy who is heavier, but I believe that you have to be at your best weight. If you fight somebody bigger, it doesn't make any sense for you to try to be bigger, right? I'm probably 220 pounds, 225 pounds right now. If I'm fighting somebody 275, why would I try to go up into that weight? I'm going to be at my best weight, right? And outmaneuver this guy. So it's a lot that I can talk about with that, but say it again.
That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, because but one thing, Canelo's flaws. He has poor footwork. He can't cut off the ring, right? He can stand there in front of you, and he's learned a lot from Floyd Mayweather defensively on how to move his head.
He learned a lot from that fight. Yeah.
But his punches are predictable because he's coming with all these power blows. If you can punch between the punch and know that Canelo is a counter puncher, he's just not going to come in to finish you unless he got you hurt. So Bud Crawford's got to think on his toes when he goes in there. He's a dog, meaning that he's got the fight in him, but
Yeah, he
don't
does.
go in there trying to prove anything.
Yeah,
You see what I mean?
trying to prove anything. I agree.
Right, right. It's on Netflix for free. Otherwise, I would have did maybe like a live commentary on it, you know, and get like a buy the fight and do live commentary. But you know, I might still do that, you know, because it's going to be an interesting turn of events. Big fight.
Yeah, one of the most sought out the boxing fights, biggest boxing fights in a long time, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's the way they're promoting it too, and what's at stake. Because Canelo is on the decline. He lost to Bivol. He doesn't want to fight Benavidez. He's in a position to call his shots. The WBC helps him to break the rules. You know, it's out of control. He avoided a lot of people, and that's not how you do it. You know, Bernard Hopkins went up divisions to fight
Roy Jones.
Taylor was what's the guy's name? He was in the Rocky movie, and he beat him. He went up at an age, you know, so you can dare to be great, but know what you're doing, you know. And if Terrence Crawford beats Canelo Alvarez, it's going to be statistically one of the biggest. I mean, it puts him in there with the top. And let me tell you something too. I mean, you can't. I can't say he can squeeze into the top 10 because we forget about the Henry Armstrongs, the Ezra Charles, the Sam Langfords. Yeah. He doesn't get his just due. No, Sonny Liston was a great fighter. He didn't get his just due because of his criminal background and stuff like that. So the real hardcore fighters, I mean, if you're in the top 25 as an all-time great, you bad. A lot of these fighters, they're media, they're blown up media creations. They don't want to fight unless they get money. Look at a guy like Archie Moore, right? He'd fight, didn't make much money in a racist South and have to jump on a freight train that was already in motion to go into a different city and find a way to get a fight with a racist crowd, guns, threats. Jack Johnson, the same thing. These guys got training facilities, nutritionists, you know, and they don't want to fight. So I got to take my hat off to Terrence Crawford. Also, it's a payday for him. So if he does lose, I'm not going to say I'm making excuses, but at least he tried. But he can do it. He can do it because it's not about the weight. It's not about the weight.
It's not ultimately.
You know,
he's got to fight his fight. I agree with you. He's got to fight his fight.
That's all. You have to impose your will. That goes in life. You have to impose your will on the opponent, whatever the opponent is, and know what the opponent's bringing. But I really want to see the strategy. I really want to see.
I do too.
Because Crawford is just not appreciated for his skills.
He's not, man.
Because he does it in a workmanlike fashion that's not flashy.
Well,
when you know boxing and you watch what he does, how he controls the distance, and he can switch from southpaw to orthodox, and uses weight. And this guy, you know, most people who are not into boxing or the casuals.
I mean, the best boxers, they know how to leverage their abilities with their opponent. And like you said, if he can slip punches and not get caught, he got a good chance of winning this fight. I think if he uses stick and move and the distance, like you said, Canelo has slow feet. And I think that's one of the first thing I noticed about him. But, Crawford is a real fighter, man. He's a smart guy. Well, I better get out of here, Brother Lance. I guess.
Yes. If you start me up, we'll be here the next 6 hours talking about boxing.
I know, right? I know that.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, brother. Peace and love.
Yes, always. Thank you so much.
All right.
Definitely. Thank you, everybody, for coming on through. And we will be doing more shows, you know, as I can freestyle some things and shoot from the hip. I probably will watch the fight, even though many people are going to get it free or they're paying for Netflix, so it comes free. You don't have to pay anymore. I'm gonna watch it and probably do a little commentary on it, even though everybody's more people will watch it than if it's just a pay-per-view that you have to pay money for. I'm still gonna do it because some people don't have Netflix. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but it'll be nice to have a little company and give a little input in a different way, because I see fights a lot different than most people do, and I don't get excited. I zone in and break it down from what I see. And I think that's going to be an interesting time. I know it's going to be in Las Vegas. So, yeah, it's in Las Vegas. So I'm going to have to stay up very late. It's going to be, I may have to wake up the time difference and do it, but I'm definitely going to do it. It's the 13th of September, correct? So it's less than 2 weeks, but I'm looking forward to it. And just doing some other things too on a creative level. But I put this together later than usual. I like to set up his shows at least a day before, because he'll give me the information on a Sunday and I'll put it together. I've been trying to get to Brother Malik. He didn't have a show last night. He didn't say he canceled. So I'm still have to reach out to him and see if everything is all right with him, but yeah, it's going to be interesting and what we do creatively here and stuff. So I've been doing a lot of work here. Honestly, I got to wait for another 2 weeks for this guy to finish up. And I have a lot of tile work getting done here, and we're finishing it up. It's the biggest floor, so it's going to be a lot. And we had a miscalculation. I had a crap load of tiles delivered this past weekend, and they got the actual square meters wrong. And some tiles were not there for the wet areas. I'm just telling you all this. It's like, it can drive you crazy. And when I went back to the tile shop today, the lady who took the order, who messed it up, didn't want to take, the blame for it. And I was trying to explain to her, listen, this is your mistake. And things are done different out here in Ghana, but I thought I would be able to stay in and rest tomorrow, but I may have to go back and rectify certain things and prepare for that. So we will do something tomorrow for sure, but I'll have to get up early and go back like I did today. So that's why I sound a little tired. So that's what it is. But yeah, I want to get more, I want to do longer lives, but I want to get some short ones in there too, to sprinkle throughout the day. That's not as fancy, but there's so much happening in the news, right? Even if you can remember, just to throw this out, since we started talking about boxing, right? Joe Bugner, who fought Muhammad Ali twice and went the distance, British fighter, he passed away. He was born in 1950, so he's got to be like, 75 or 74, 75 years old. He passed away. He wasn't like super popular to be remembered into this day, but back then that was a common name because he fought a lot of people, fought a lot of top heavyweights. I think he fought Ernie Shavers and Ron Lyle, and there was recent as Frank Bruno. So he had to be older when he fought him. So yeah, there's a lot of things we want to talk about. There's a lot of things that I study and follow that people don't know about, but you all know I love my boxing and my bodybuilding. So I will be talking about that, and with the Olympia coming up, I think I'll do some shows on that also and put my foot in there, because those are things I know about, but I don't really put out there. So I want to expand the channel a little bit and get into those things because it's very, very interesting. Even though bodybuilding is drug warfare right now, I'll say that from now. I'm not with that. That's why I got out of it. But anyway, thank you all for being here. I'm going to sign off. I think that'll be it for me for tonight because I had such an exhausting day. I mean, I didn't even eat until later on in the day. I just got up and got out and dealt. It was up and down. Boy, I covered some ground today, and it looks like tomorrow's going to be the same thing. So, but we're still going to keep the content going. And it is what it is. But much love to you all. Take care. Leave your comments, subscribe, and like, and all of that good stuff.
Hallelujah. And now